going on, Aviators? Andrew here, and welcome to our very first official episode of the AV8R podcast. So, thank you guys for tuning into our pilot episode last week. We were just kind of getting the ball rolling and announcing it, and now we're actually going to get into our first conversation topic. So, I'm here with AR8, and today we're going to be talking back and forth a lot about the topic of progress. I have a lot to say about it, and I'll be asking you questions. So, Aerate, we're going to be talking back and forth a lot about the topic of progress. I have a lot to say about it, but I'll be asking you questions, and I'd love to hear you chime in when you have something to add. This is going to be kind of a bit of a guided conversation, but don't let me dominate the whole thing. And just to note, for our viewers on YouTube, welcome. I'm going to be looking over, I have like some notes in front of me right now, so if I look down in front of the camera, don't mind me. And for all of you guys who are listening in on Spotify or any of our other audio platforms, thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to being able to provide some valuable content for you guys in this episode. So,
as do I.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good episode. I'm very excited for it because this is something that a lot of people struggle with, the topic of progress. Just to begin, we all have to start somewhere. You know, we all have our goals and our aspirations. Like, oh, I want to be like this by someday, or oh, I want to be like this person someday. And those are all valid and those are all good. And it's really important to have these goals. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything driving us aside from consequence. So to have goals to work to build toward is something that is way more important and way more fulfilling than to have a consequence to avoid, if that makes sense. So oftentimes people will set goals. Like, oh, I want to lose this much weight, or I want to have this much money by this time, things like that. And a lot of times people give up really early on because they realize just how far away their goals and their idols are from their current position. But this is mainly because humans have a tendency to hyper-focus on the task at hand, which halts meaningful progress because they lose sight of the bigger picture, which was their ultimate goal. So what are your thoughts, AR8, on what it means to make meaningful progress?
So personally, I think meaningful progress is basically, from my standpoint, it's like either to learn something new, to begin to have more targets in sight as what you want to do next, to gain some sort of satisfaction, and lastly, I think what makes true meaningful progress is to be able to be a point where you've overcome a true challenge for yourself, and which actually gives you in my opinion, quite a nice moral boost and makes you feel better.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a lot of it's like when you're in the process of doing things, it's hard to see like those little milestones, so it doesn't actually feel like you're making the progress. So that's why a lot of people when they're making a change, it's hard to get that satisfaction that you're talking about, because sometimes you're just grinding at something and then it just it doesn't feel like anything gets underway. And a lot of it is because there's a difference between working in something and working on something, and a lot of it has to do with your time balancing too. So for instance, let's say I'm working on a project, like, oh, I have a new release coming out, which, by the way, we just had a release like 2 weeks ago. And basically, if I'm going to be working on the release, then that would mean things like planning ahead, creating the products, and then like doing the marketing for it, creating the product listings, things like that. And then there's also working in the release, where it's like, all right, now I have to go ship all the orders. Now I have to go remove like printing figures to get ready for me to print on them, things like that. So when you're working in a business, you're working on fulfilling on the things that are happening. But then when you're working on the business, you're making plans and you're making moves to push your business forward. So the same thing applies to, let's say, weight loss. Let's say I want to work on losing weight, and when you're working in the weight loss section, there are things that you do, like, okay, skip breakfast or exercise more. And then there's working on weight loss, where it's like, how am I going to go about doing this? What you have to plan ahead of time, like what am I going to do? How am I going to get my steps to get there? So Addie, have you ever felt like you're working on something and it just seemed to be endless? Like there was no end in sight. Like you were just feel like you were gonna be doing this forever and ever.
Well, actually, in fact, I actually have. I've been working quite recently on a lot of big projects in my life, and um, yeah, they do really seem like they're properly endless. And in retrospect, as to older projects that I've done, um, one of the key things to keep in mind is time management. I cannot begin to go on over how time management is important when you're doing a project. You don't have to. If you do it last minute, it's gonna be a real pain because not only will you have a lot of stress, but maybe you just can't cope with it in the last minute and you won't be able to complete it on time. Or let's say if you have a deadline.
Yeah, time management is extremely important because like there are always so many other things that are trying to pull your attention away from what it is that you need to be doing to be
Mm,
making the progress. This concept, it applies to personal development. Let's say like you're trying to be like a better person, or being like you want to be more well-rounded, like you want to learn a skill or something, and you just want to be more capable of doing a certain task. There are things that require practice and things that need to get done regardless of what your intentions are. You could be trying to learn a new skill or trying to get a promotion or trying to learn how to talk to people better or open negotiations or things like that. But if you're working at a job or you're at school and you're doing your homework and these things take up all your time, you don't actually have time to hone that skill. And that sentence right there, I don't have time to hone my skill. I don't have time to do this. Um, that sentence right there is what everyone tells themselves, but in reality it's I'm not making time to do this, I'm not making time to do that. And it feels like a little redundant to say, but you actually need to make time, if that makes sense. Because like
mm,
let's say I have 24 hours in my day. I'm gonna sleep for 8 of them, so I actually only have 16 hours in my day. But then, oh wait, I have to go to school or I have to go to work, and that takes up 8 to 10 hours of my day. So how much time do I actually have? 24 minus 8 minus, let's round down and say 8, and I'm left with, well, another 8 hours. What am I gonna do in my free time? Am I gonna eat? That's probably gonna take an hour or two. Am I going to talk to people? It's probably gonna take another hour or two. Am I gonna play video games? Am I gonna watch Netflix? Or am I gonna work on my thing? Because like there's always at some point there's always a point in your day where there's some spare time, there's downtime, and you can be spending that downtime doing a number of things. But if you don't manage your time properly, then you spend that downtime on things like watching Netflix or scrolling through Instagram, and you're not actually spending those time working on the project at hand, like honing that skill, or like learning how to talk to people better. So you get stuck in this fulfillment loop where you're making ends meet, but you're not really taking anything to the next level because you're not managing your time properly. So Addy, what are your thoughts on how to get yourself out of this fulfillment loop?
yeah, so what I'd recommend is definitely prioritizing the most important thing on your project at the moment. So as you talked about, you mentioned the learning a skill. What I would do personally was I would chip away at it, do little of it, but do it spread it across a certain time period, and so therefore you're still doing it, but you still have enough time to do what the other things you really like to do, say Netflix or scrolling through Instagram, as you mentioned as an example.
Yeah, so blocking out your time is really important, and I think that like now before going forward, I don't want to say I'm not like some self-help guru. I'm not the master of time management, because if you've been keeping up with my stories on Instagram and like when I talk to people, my schedule's a mess. So like I get things done and I have projects underway, but there are a lot of other projects that I want to get done that don't receive proper attention because my time and my priorities are elsewhere. So you're absolutely right that getting your priorities straight is huge. When it comes to like fulfilling orders and things like that, my priority has recently been on making sales to to pay off these bills that I have, and these bills are unavoidable. But now that I'm at a stage where I'm starting to be able to pay off those bills, I can shift my priority to how can I get a product to the customer fastest, and that's, for me, that's my next biggest goal. Like what am I planning on doing on to get the product to the customer faster, so that we don't have that lag in fulfillment time. And for me, I feel like it's really important to have downtime, to have time to spend with your family, to have time to watch Netflix, or to like play games or things like that. Because if you don't give yourself time to, for lack of a better term, indulge yourself, then you're just gonna go crazy, and you're gonna feel like, ugh, nothing's getting done. I always feel like I don't have any time. I'm always stressed. I don't have time to wind down. So another concept that I want to introduce is time blocking versus so you have to make time, meaning like, hey, you know what, instead of watching Netflix for a full hour, I'm going to watch Netflix for 30 minutes, and for the other 30 minutes that I was going to be watching Netflix for, I'm going to be creating a schedule. And you do that little by little each day. Just like you said, you gotta chip away at it, until you find yourself with a workable system, and then you go and implement it. This week I have this goal. Now don't make some big far-fetched goals like, I want to be a millionaire by this week. No, but like you set a goal. You have to make time to set a goal, and then to plan it out. How am I going to get there? What am I going to do? What changes am I going to make? What am I going to cut out? What am I going to add in? Things like that. So and then when you switch from, oh, I don't know how to manage my time, to I'm going to make some time to plan ahead. Now you're shifting from working in something to working on something, and that's when you can start to make that meaningful progress that I'm talking about. So it could be something as simple as reading a book, or taking some time learning how to sculpt, learning how to do resin casting, learning how to do decaling, or things like that. So Addy, do you ever feel like you start something, and then by the time you're done doing that thing, nothing seems to have changed that much?
Yes. So, there's been as a mock maker, sometimes like you have big ambitions to create something big or outstanding, but then you realize when you're halfway through that either A, you don't have enough time to do it, you don't have enough pieces to do it, or you've just grown tired of doing that mock. Let's say sometimes that makes you feel like nothing at all has changed. You've just been at a standstill for a long time. In fact, what I would do about that was I'd personally give yourself reasonable ambitions. As you said, don't give yourself something really far-fetched. Like, let's say, as your example, become a millionaire. Try and start something small, then gradually build upon that. And I think that feel that like you've actually done something, and you've got something to prove that you've done something with yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. When I first started on this journey of like being an entrepreneur, like I dropped out of college, and I started a business, and it's been going on for almost 2 years now. But my first mentor, his name is Ty Lopez. You guys might know him as the guy with the video like, here in my garage, got this brand new Lamborghini. But anyway, Ty is actually a really wise person, and he told us that oftentimes we underestimate what we can do. We overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And it's the same concept on a micro scale. Like sometimes we overestimate what we can do in a month, but we underestimate what we can do in a whole year. And even if you want to go smaller, overestimate what you can do in a week, but then underestimate what we can do in a month. And just as a testament to that, I started in July. I was like, you know what? I'm 180 pounds. I gained a lot of weight, and I want to go back to being 160 pounds. And I was like, I started looking like, oh, weight loss stuff. Like there are all sorts of things like, oh, you do the keto diet, or you take these vitamins, or you take these gummies, or whatever. But then I was like, oh man, how long is this gonna take? So then I set myself, I wanted to lose 20 pounds, but I was like, can I lose 20 pounds in like a month? No. But then I started chipping away at it. I broke it down. Okay, like realistically, how many pounds can I lose over a certain period of time, and what's it gonna take to get there? So what I had to start doing was I had to start cutting out part of my work day to go to the gym. So that's like 2 or 3 hours out of the work day, almost every single day. And then I had to start changing my diet. But then I started realizing after like 2-3 weeks that, hey, I'm consistently losing like 2 or 3 pounds a week, which was crazy. So at this point, it's like it's just the beginning of October. I am at 163 pounds. So I lost almost that full 20 pounds. And it was like, it seems like, oh, 20 pounds, I want to lose it like that. But then once you put it out over this period of time, say like, hey, I think I can do, I don't think I can do this in a month, but I think I can do it in 3 months. And like, you know, we're already well on our way to achieving that goal. So sometimes you really just gotta set a more reasonable goal for yourself, and then set like good roadblocks, and not roadblocks, what are they called? Milestones. Like how fast am I going to be able to pull this off? How long is it going to take for me to do this, etc., etc. So with that in mind, Addy, what is something that you've always wanted to work toward but never really got around to it, or never really had time for?
So really, something I've really wanted to work to for a very long time was, if I were to ask you this back question, what would you respond with?
If you were to ask me that question, like something that I always wanted to work toward but never really got around to or had time for, you know, I'd have to say it would have to be sleeping on time and having a proper sleeping schedule, because it's not like, it doesn't have to be some big lofty goal like I want to be a superstar, or like I want to be like, I want to have like all these things in my house or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be like super lofty like that. Yeah, sleeping on time is something I've always wanted to do, and something I've always struggled with ever since I was little. Just because like I have a tendency to work until my eyes won't stay open for like 4 days of the week, and that's not something to brag about, because that's just because my schedule is so out of place. It's like because I always feel like I have a million things to do, and then I feel like I need to work all night long just to get them done, and then by the end of the night I'm dead tired and I have to wake up to take my little brother to school in the morning, and then I'm like, should I go back to sleep or should I stay awake and work? And even if I do stay awake and work, it feels like, oh, there's still so many other things to do. It feels like everything I did last night didn't matter. And that's getting stuck in that fulfillment loop that I talked about again. So you know, to remedy this, like what I would do is like I need to set aside 10, 20, maybe even 30 minutes to prepare my quota for the day. It's like, hey, this is what I need to do to feel like I made progress. And even then, like you have to subdivide it, like what's my goal to do what by when. So maybe by the end of this week, it's my goal to ship out all my orders. How many orders do I need to ship out every day to do that? How many items do I need to create to do that? How many labels do I need to print? How many decal sheets do I need to print to do that? How long is that going to take? And then, you know, once you start subdividing these tasks and putting it like, okay, on Monday I'm going to do this, on Tuesday I'm going to do this, on Wednesday I'm going to do this, you don't feel like you're so overwhelmed anymore. It's like, this is all I need to do for today. And this is my like the number one thing that I need to do today. And if I get it done early, I can either have more free time for myself, or I can do next day's work so that I can get it done sooner. And then when you break it down like that, it really helps. It really helps. So that even relates to, you know, the whole sleeping schedule thing, where it's like, I want to wake up at 7 a.m. and then I want to sleep at midnight. Okay, well, if I'm sleeping at 5 a.m. every single night, I can't just wake up at 7 a.m. like the next day and be like, oh, I'm good to go. So every day, why don't you shift your sleep schedule back an hour? Sleep at 4, then sleep at 3, then sleep at 2, then sleep at 1. Instead of just like, I want to sleep at midnight and have a good schedule by tomorrow. You know what I mean? So with you, you said you also have struggle. You know, you struggle with your sleeping schedule. What does your current schedule look like?
Well, it's a bit weird to admit, but mainly around like 11, and I wake up at 6. So I only get about 6-7 hours of work. 7 hours of sleep per night, and that it shouldn't really happen at all.
No,
Right.
you're right.
Yeah, it really should. Like, I keep trying to set myself goals like, oh, I'll go sleep instead of 11. I'll try and go sleep at 9 or something, 9:30 or something. Then I do it once, but the trouble is trying to continue yourself, like to keep going with that little schedule that you're trying to start. So I definitely agree with you, like with trying to move 1 hour back each night. I think that is something I'll definitely take on board, as it seems like a very good idea to get used to. Like, it doesn't even have to be 1 hour, I'd say. It could be, let's say, 30 minutes. As long as it's gradual, it's a lot better way than just doing all in one.
Definitely. Yeah, like you know, doing it all at once is like, we're in a generation where instant gratification is if anything, like I dare say it's like a plate. You know, it's like I want this now. Amazon Prime, I want it now. Or I don't want to wait 5 days for shipping. I want to wait 2 days for shipping. I don't want to wait 2 days for shipping. I want to wait 1 day. I don't want to wait a week to lose weight. I want to lose it tomorrow, or things like that. You know, but a lot of it is really just like when you break it down into a realistic, like, okay, I know I can manage doing this much every single day. How many days is it going to take me to get to my goal? And then what she said next is all about like consistency, and that's harder than initiating. So I can be like, oh yeah, like I'm ready to go, like I want to do this, I'm ready to embark on this journey, and then you start it, and then you're like, oh, I get a little distracted, oh, I was scrolling through Instagram too much, oh, what do you know, it's midnight again. And then as soon as we trip up, which truth be told, we will always trip up, but like a lot of people, as soon as they trip up, they're like, ah, shit, I failed my goal. All right. Sorry for the language, but then so the biggest roadblock then becomes accountability, because then you're like you tell yourself, yeah, I'm gonna get this done, or I'm gonna do this, and then it doesn't get done and you don't do it, or you are doing it and you are getting it done, but then one day you trip up and you're like, oh, I can't do it anymore. But so then like then the question becomes like, how can you hold yourself accountable? How can you keep yourself accountable? So Addie, I wanted to ask you, do you have someone in your life that can motivate you and help keep you on track and keep you accountable?
Personally, I think friends and family are always there to help you.
Would you say that they're kind of like, if anything, their presence and their interaction with you is energizing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, whatchamacallit, like here in the Lego community, like on Instagram, right? There's a whole community of people here, and it's like if you don't involve yourself with the community that you care about, like the way that we're involved with the Lego community, if you don't involve yourself with the community, it's hard to keep yourself accountable because there's no one to keep you in check. If that makes sense. For me, when it comes to sleeping early, every day I had to take my little brother to school, 7 a.m. And usually what happens is I'll work until like 3 or 4, and then I'll sleep for 3 hours, and then I'll take him to school, and I'll be dead tired. So then I take him to school, I drop him off, and I come back home. I'm like, I've had 3 hours of sleep. I'm gonna go back to bed, and I'm gonna. So it's like, so then I end up waking up again like at noon or something. So I get my 8 hours of sleep, but there's like I had to take my brother to school in the middle of my sleep. And then like I get stuck on this loop where, well, I woke up at noon, so I guess I'm staying up till 3 again. But you can see how that's like a vicious cycle of it keeping going. So then recently my little brother started saying, look, if you don't, you need to start going to sleep sooner, because he would tell me on the ride to school, like, if you go back to sleep today, are you going to accomplish your goals? And I'm like, man, this 14-year-old kid is telling me exactly what I need to hear. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I tried to give this advice to him, and I'm not even taking it myself. Like, I need to start listening to myself. I need to start listening to my brother. So every morning he asks me, what time did you sleep? I'm like, I slept at like 2. He's like, are you going back to sleep when you get home? Like, yes or no. And then he'll kind of guilt trip me in a way. He's like, are you gonna get your stuff done today? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to or not. So then, like, but having him do that, and I have to look forward to that every day. I have to tell him, am I going to get my stuff done today? Am I going to sleep on time? And in a way, it's not like a boss that you have to report to, but it's like it's someone that you want to do well for. I want to be able to take him to school until I'm like, nah, dude, I'm not going back to sleep. I'm going to work all day long, and like be proud of it and be energized about it. But if I don't have someone to help me with that, it feels like a lonely and hard journey.
Yes, I definitely agree with you that friends, family, and definitely community are good moral support. They energize you and they help you out always in your time of need. And sometimes I read in an article that by doing good to someone, you're actually doing good to yourself, and that could actually motivate you too. So let's say you help out one of your friends when he has some problems by helping himself out, but you're actually helping yourself too. So
definitely. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap up here in just a little bit. So if there's anything that you can take away from this entire conversation, anything at all, whether you're watching or whether you're listening, without over-explaining too much, long story short, you need to make time to make time. You gotta set aside some time to plan, schedule ahead. You need to understand that your time is very valuable. So you need to start like figuring out how to better divide your time and block your time, so that you can get your goals done. And last but not least, you need to get involved with the community. Because if you're involved with a community, whether it's close friends in person or people online or anything like that, people who can help you on your journey, that's what's going to propel you forward, more so than any like solo plan that you can do. So I'm not here to tell you like this is exactly how you need to live your life. What I'm telling you is that if you follow these methods, you're going to find success in certain areas, in the areas that you are going toward and that you set for goals for yourself. I've used this system to push my business forward, and of course it's something that isn't just like one and done. You have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And every time you set a new goal, you have to keep doing it. So, you'll encounter, even though you understand the process, you'll encounter the same like roadblocks, like the same, oh, I don't have time for this, oh, I'm too busy, and all these yeah, but excuses. No matter what it is that you do, even if you master the system, as soon as you try something new, you're going to go through the same things over and over again. But understanding that process and then blocking out your time accordingly is what's going to get you there. So anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's all the points you made here can definitely help you on the way to success, but they can definitely just help you in general in your life and the stuff you like to do.
Awesome. So I hope this conversation topic has been insightful and helpful, and it got you thinking about what you can do to make your goals a reality. Thank you, Addy, for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. I look forward to doing this more.
Yep, and make sure that you guys, the aviators, are on the lookout for new updates, videos, and content. We've got a lot under the wraps that we've already leaked a lot of projects like our Discord, and we're super excited to share with you. Just a note, more of the team members are going to be involved with things moving forward. So yeah, someone's at the door. Anyway, super excited to share all that with you. Remember, never settle and always go above and beyond. Catch you later, aviators.